Well, hello, hottie. Can you believe that you just missed the flurry of men that were just behind me? And not that you could see, because this is obviously like frosted glass. I think in technical terms, it's fluted glass. But you can see the boots. There were men. And do you want to know why I believe that they were congregating? It's because they got a whiff of what today's episode is going to be about. Hot is a strategy, and it is. Hot is an energy. I believe that anyone can be hot. I believe that we do things on a daily basis that are very, very hot. And I think that it is so much more than just a compliment. I do not think that hot is entirely about aesthetics. I think it is about energy and it's about attention. Hot is about being something that is impossible to ignore. It's like, if we look at beauty, it stops us in its tracks. It is something where it's like we can just be tuning out. We see something beautiful, whether it's like a person or a top or art or a flower or a sunset or a cake, whatever. And it is a circuit breaker for us to come right back into the present moment and appreciate what is in front of us. If you look at it like that, you can see straight away that it's like hot is so much more than that. And this is why I'm like, hot is an aura. I think that it is emotive. It gets you to feel something. If we look at it under that lens, this is then something that is available to all of us to implement in our business today. I have a really random example. I went into the kitchen the other day at work and there was a guy and he had this like barbecue chicken. So it was like a Woolworths barbecue chicken. And he was in a suit and he'd taken his like jacket off and he draped it over a chair. And he had this like little charred barbecued chicken and he had it on a plate and he was like ripping apart this little chicken's body and he was like putting it in his mouth and sucking the bones dry. And before you were like, were you ovulating? I actually think I was. But there was just something really hot about this. I think what was hot was the fact that this man was unapologetic about eating an entire barbecued chicken in a co-working space. He didn't care. He was just here for his lunch. There was just something about that I was like, I am obsessed with this. And it got me thinking about all of the businesses that we have these days that are so fearful about being themselves. But when someone is truly their authentic self, I believe that that is the most attractive and hot thing that a person can do. I don't need to tell you this, that you can open Instagram, you can look in Facebook groups, and there is a lot of the same. There is a lot of beige. It is very palatable. It is very safe. It is very consumer friendly. It's very brand friendly. And I think because of this, we have a whole lot of people who have kind of opted for having a safe brand instead of having a brand that feels like that it is a true representation of them. I want you to think now about businesses that you would define as hot. Like they have something about them. There is just something that you just want to buy into. And there are probably many that come to mind. I think the problem is usually when you feel like that you have created this like brand that doesn't really stand out, that doesn't really have any hot elements, this is where you start to feel like that you need to compete on price or you need to compete with the offer. It's like if someone is looking to hire a bookkeeper, you think there are going to be some people, if they just see a bookkeeper as a bookkeeper, that they are just going to look for the hourly rate or maybe a good recommendation or amazing testimonials. But what I want you to think about is there are going to be people in any industry that command any dollar value, and all because they have a brand that is hot and they have a brand that is desire-led. And when people see how they are showing up and that authenticity, that they are so attracted to that and they will pay anything. When I rebranded Professional Babe, and by rebrand, I'm going to call that quite loose because, I finally had some funds where I could invest in brand and design and a photo shoot. From memory, I think I spent around for everything about $20,000. It was something where I'm like, I want this to be beautiful and I want this to be editorial and an extension of me. And it's really interesting the amount of people that say, I want to work with you because of your website. Like, how many business consultants and how many business coaches are there? And sure, I am good at what I do. I have amazing case studies and I've got great testimonials. But the amount of people that say to me, I love your website. It is just hot and it's sexy and it's editorial. And I think that this is something that we can all add into our own brand. It doesn't mean you need to become a carbon copy of me. We just need to find out what makes you hot and how we can add elements into what you're already doing. So right now, when I say the words hot or hot business, I want you to think about what comes to mind. I want you to think about any visuals, any examples, any words. Most importantly, I want you to think about the self-talk that comes up and any thoughts that you have about this. And maybe you're like, I don't think that that's me. Of course it is. 100%. Look at the chicken man. That was hot. So I think this is where, when we look at creating a hot business, this is where we need to redefine what hot actually is. What I want you to think about for a second, about when we think about the notion of hot is a strategy, is what I like about this is it actually doesn't put your customer first. It puts you first. And it's really interesting because any business advice, you will always see advice that says, put your customer first. You'll have businesses that are like, we're so customer focused, like our customer is the number one priority. And I think sometimes we get this a little bit skewed. Of course, customers in business are 100% our priority. But when it comes to the brand that we want, I don't think that we need to consider our customer every single fucking step of the way. Stay with me because I have a bit of an example. I'm going to be honest. When I created Professional Babe, was I thinking about my customer? No, I was thinking about myself. I was thinking about a brand that I wanted, and I wanted to look at everything that I was doing and be like, I want to work with this business. And I want you to ask this right now of yourself. I want you to look at your online presence, your website, how you're showing up, and I want you to be like, would I work with me? And if you are like, no, I'm fucking bored, fantastic. Because this is where we get to add all of these wonderful, exciting elements that you were told that you couldn't do because you had to be customer focused. We have to add that into your business. Because if you are not excited by what you're doing, and if you are not turned on by what you're doing, you're not going to promote it. And there is not going to be this passion and this drive. If you look at something and you feel it's okay, that's going to come across in everything that you're doing. I think when we put our customer in our business and when we let them influence too much what we're doing, I think the problem is sometimes customers don't want to see themselves reflected in what we're doing. They want to see a completely new identity. They want to look at something and they want to see their future completely reimagined. They want to be kind of almost shocked out of whatever fucking bland, mediocrity, low standard mood that they're in. And they want to have a new reality vision for them. And they want this to be someone. And the thing is, when this happens, your customers will immediately be like, she gets it. I have to work with her. And I want you to think before about the amount of things that you have seen that have almost like opened a new reality to you because you've seen that this is available to you. I have this on TikTok all the time, and it's really interesting as I'm like scrolling through my For You page, the amount of videos that I look at, and then they'll be saved. And you'll see people who will write comments and they'll be like, oh my gosh, you have my dream life. Oh my gosh, I want this. And it's like, we often don't know what we want until we see it reflected back to us. And when we look at this in the perspective of business and marketing, I think that sometimes it's like if we speak too much to our client and it's something that they do not want reflected back to them, this is where sometimes they're like, they're not for me because they only get where I am. I don't fucking care about where I am. I care about where I'm going. And what I love about when we actually think about what can I do in my business to make it hot? I feel that hot is an identity that we all want to have. I've got another TikTok example for you. Hot girl walks, hot girl fucking snacks, hot girl whatever. And the reason this does so well, it is because it is an identity that everyone wants. No one wants to be like a sad, bland, mediocre bitch. No one wants that. Everyone wants to be hot. They love the identity around that. They love how they feel. It's also this really beautiful desire-led way to market. A lot of traditional ways to market will really agitate that pain point, and it will get you to really be like, let's understand exactly where your customer is so they know their situation. I actually have to look at this differently. And how I look at this is, why the fuck are we so focused on where they are right now? What is more important is where they're going and who people actually want to become. Something that I teach, and I learned this from Alice Nichols, was the 4 customer archetypes. And one of the customer archetypes was the detached. Now, normally when you market to these people, this is the pain point marketing. For us to take you from A to B, we're going to agitate the fuck out of this point A. It's like, oh, you're struggling to sleep. Oh, you have no money. Oh, you have this. What we really can do is just drop that. And we can go straight into this endpoint of who do you want to be and how can this look? And especially for those of us that do have a personal brand, and for those of us that, you know, it's like we have really designed our business for us, say maybe where we were 3 years ago, so we can help those people to get where we are today. These people don't need to hear about their problems. They need a new future imagined for them. They need something that is attractive and it's intriguing and it's just full of desire. So what you can do now is you can do a little bit of an audit. And what's really fun is you actually can start to test this out with the content that you're putting out there, including emails. So go through your website and just be like, am I speaking too much to where people are now? And I'm not really talking about where they're going to end up, how this is going to look, how they're going to feel, and really painting this beautiful, emotive picture. Is this marketing in a hot way? And am I showing up with hot energy? Or am I kind of just focusing on a whole fucking bunch of problems? What I love as well is when we consider, you know, that hot is a strategy, is I think that it is so focused on being in the present and also being a bit detached. Have you ever felt needy before, where you go and do a whole lot of sales reach outs, or you send an email and for whatever reason, people just leave you on red and you're like, okay, why is this happening to me? And have you ever then felt really, really, really needy, where you feel like you need to follow up, or like you're putting up stories, or there's just this like almost like really grabby, desperate energy, right? Hot people, hot businesses know that everything is going to work out because they're incredible. I think that your thoughts are more positive. I think that you hold yourself differently. And I know Daniel Priestley said this on, I think it was his interview that he did with Stephen Bartlett. And he said that when he does stuff in his business, he has this like with or without you attitude, where it's like, we're going here with or without you. And he said, what's really amazing about that is, he said, people will just want to be involved. They'll want to be involved straight away. Instead of having this desperation of, it's like, well, I'm going to hold myself back and we're not going to move forward unless you come with us. I think that when you are confident and when you feel hot, you don't give a fuck if people leave you on red, and you do not care if people say no, because there is almost this level of confidence and almost like assurance that you know that what you're doing is exceptional work, and you know that the people that you are here for are 100% going to find you. And you can think now about like all of the hot brands. There is not this like desperation with marketing. There's not this whole, I don't want you to miss out. I'm going to give you 50,000 reminders. It's okay if you don't buy. It's this very take it or leave it. Here is what it is. So right now we know that hot is this beautiful way that we can do desire-led marketing. We know that it is something that is us and our energy. So when we can think about how we can be hot, what does this look like? And this comes back to, what do you believe is hot? What, if I say that to you, what comes up? Is it that it is a level of confidence? Amazing. Do you feel that you have that? How can we add that into your website copy? Like, if you think that being hot is confident, it is direct, it is really sure of yourself, and you look at your website copy, does it reflect that? Like, how can we obviously stay on brand with what you're saying, but add that level, like do a little bit of an audit. And this is where, of course, we can use AI to help. We can take some of our copy, we can put it in there and say, I want to maintain my brand voice, but I just want to make this sound a little bit more confident, or I want to make this sound a little bit more bold or a little bit more direct. We can think as well about being hot as visuals. When we think about hot, what comes to mind when we look at the visuals of your brand? We can look at hot as your sales process. What does that look like? And we can actually audit an entire business with this. Now, the most amazing thing is we are all going to come up with different shades because everything for us is hot. You're going to have a different definition. I'm going to have a different definition. But there is one important part. The most important part of everything. Embodiment is everything. And this is sometimes where you will see people that have these brands and it looks like they're wearing their mother's shoes or they're playing dress ups in someone's clothing. And the reason that you look at someone's brand and for whatever reason it doesn't fit them properly is because there is this lack of embodiment where it's like they have this beautiful digital storefront, they have this beautiful online presence, but for whatever reason, they're not actually embodying this in what they're doing. So this may be something where you feel like that you have a hot brand and that you have so much working for you, but for whatever reason, something just doesn't feel right. And this is where I would get you to look at who you are on a daily basis and how you're showing up. What do you like in your personal life? And maybe you are going to need to make some upgrades. You can't be like, we've got a really hot business and I'm really sexy if you're wearing underwear that is falling off you, or it's full of holes, or clothes that don't make you feel good, or stuff when you get dressed every morning, it doesn't feel like a pleasurable experience. And again, this is going to be so different for all of us. But we want to make sure that if we have this really beautiful personal brand that we think is hot, it's like, how can we ensure that this is like embodied, that this is almost us on a cellular level? People say to me all the time, they're like, I meet you and you're exactly your brand. And it's like, yeah, of course I am, because my brand is an extension of me. I'm so myself that this was really easy for me to convey this in a website. Now, for some of you, especially if you've gone in through a rebrand, and this is where I started, Professional Babe was very much created with this like aspirational lens where it's like, this is what I'm growing into. I did this when we were like fresh out of COVID. I think I just had my hair dyed for the first time in, I didn't even know how long. I even remember that I was trying to buy clothes and all the stores around here were shut, but I still made it work. And I wanted these pictures, I wanted the copy, I wanted the offers to really represent who I was going to be and this beautiful version of me and my business that I was growing into. So I know that when we're ready to rebrand again, the same thing is going to happen. What you can do here, and something really fun, is if you want to make your brand hot and you kind of want to have this as an experience where you also elevate yourself in the process, you can buy some like really fun little props and things. But what you need to make sure that you're doing is like you're integrating this into your daily life. So it's like the amount of times that I see people wear like really beautiful, almost like costume sunglasses, like they'll get those heart-shaped sunglasses or something really fun with like lots of jewels and crystals. And then I see them and they're wearing some fucking boring shit sunglass. Why? Like, why can't you have that? So this is where you may be like, okay, cool. I'm going to go and I'm going to buy something and I'm going to bring that brand into the life that I have today. And I want to say too, maybe this is why sometimes you feel stuck in your business and you can't really pinpoint why. Anytime I feel stuck or I'm not feeling myself, I always come back to, how am I showing up? And am I being on brand? Have I forgotten who I am? And what can I kind of do to get me back to that? And again, I've been doing this for a while, so I know it's like, cool, go wash your hair, get a blow dry, put some heels on, wear a really nice bra, put on like a hot little dress, go and do your little runway walk up the hallways and just wear your sunglasses and just see who's checking you out, whatever. But I've got things that I do. When we look at this, and especially with anything with identity, it is not about doing things once. It is about who you are and who your brand is every single fucking day. And it's about being consistent. So if you are someone that wants to have this really hot brand that when people look at what you're doing and they're like, I am fucking obsessed with that, the easiest way to have a hot brand is to embody it and to become that person on a daily basis. In a world where everything is beige, being hot is a strategic advantage. When you have a hot business that stands out, that is a circuit breaker among all of the beige shit that people are seeing, you are naturally going to be elevated among your competitors. People are going to look at what you're doing and they're going to remember it. And for some people, they may be a little bit activated, especially if this feels like something that's not available to them. But what you'll find is they're going to stay with you because there's going to be this element of intrigue, or you're going to get them to look at things in a different way or feel different things where their competitors, your competitors, are being mediocre, a little bit beige and a bit average. You get to come in here with this really hot, embodied brand. What's really interesting is you may find that when we start to bring elements of that in, this gets people over the line. They'll say something where it's like, oh my gosh, everything that you've been saying and how you've been showing up has just been speaking to me in this certain way. Like, I have to have this. So what we can do post this call, because you know I love action, is we can do a bit of an audit of our business. Firstly, it's like, what is hot to you? What does that look like? We can look at all of the different parts of our business. We can look at our website. We can look at our content, our visuals, the design, our offerings, how we show up, our customer service, who we are, our brand as a whole. There are so many different elements here. And it's like, let's just start with one. Like, if we were to make things a bit hotter, what would this look like? As I was brainstorming this episode, I was reflecting on my own business and I was like, how can we make things hotter? And this is something that I'm doing soon where we've got some design work that's happening for a project that's coming up. And I feel really excited about that. I'm like, cool, how can we lean into that? Okay, let's do some beautiful visuals. Like, let's create a whole incredible campaign around this, do some photography, get some video content done, and the ideas are rolling. And I know exactly what's going to happen. People are going to be like, this is so hot. I've never seen anything like this before. And that's what you want. You want a circuit breaker in a sea of beige, same, mediocre shit. We're not here to do that. We are here to be exceptional and excellent and amazing. So hot stuff, go be hot. That is your little task. Well, hot stuff. I've loved this. I've loved you. I've loved today's episode. I'm loving our new little setup. It feels good. I'm getting great comments. So I love that you're loving it. I don't love that the light in this meeting room is not fantastic, but that's fine. It is what it is. I love you more than, and I actually have a book recommendation. I love Robert Greene. I don't know what that says about me because I think that his books are banned in prison. Anyway, he actually has a book. If you want to like embody hot, listened to or read Seduction. I think it's like the rules of seduction or the laws of seduction or something. It's just Seduction. He has lots of different books. I actually have the physical hard copy, and then I have an Audible subscription, and I basically listen to him read me a bedtime story. Some people say it's manipulation. Everything's fucking manipulation, but it's good. It's interesting. So I love that. I love you more than, we've got a food recommendation. They have, this brand is called Health Lab, and they have these like little balls. People call them protein balls. I don't think that they're at all healthy, but maybe they are. Maybe it's like less sugar. Look, I don't fucking know. But I was walking down the aisle and I love Lamingtons. Like I'm a slut for coconut and chocolate. Delicious. Fuck me up, daddy. Like, I love it. And they have these like little Lamington balls where it's like covered in chocolate with coconut on the outside. And then there's coconut, it tastes like a Bounty. And then there's jam in the middle. The jam could be better. You know what I think the jam would be good at? The jam needs to be a bit gooier. Like, it's a bit too formed. Like, I want to bite into it and I want it to just like basically ejaculate on my face. That is the kind of jamminess that I want. I want it to be a bit gooey. This is too formed. But I had one of those little balls in my mouth right before I started this podcast episode. I got coconut all over the fucking place. So I'm in a black dress. It looked like I had dandruff. Not that fun. So maybe I don't love you more than that, but I do love you more than that hot little ball. And I love you more than gifts and presents. I'm a huge gift person. I love gifts. And I know when Emma bought me this book, like she put it on the front, hot is a strategy. Because I remember when we first had this conversation, I think sometimes I love her. She will laugh at me being like, I can't believe the shit that leaves your mouth, because I just say it with such conviction, because it's like, I truly believe this, like hot is a strategy. Put it on a shirt. If I'm ever going for like prime minister, this would be my campaign. Just be hot. Like hot is a strategy. Hotness will solve the world. And I love that she was so thoughtful and she put this on this book to give me. Like, how beautiful is that? And I love you more than, I feel this is really extra. I've got like a little fan. Can you see this? I've got this in my handbag. I went to this event and they were handing them out for free. And I was like, of course I will take that. That will come in handy. And I have this like big Mary Poppins bag, which weighs, I'm not even kidding, it's like 20 kilos. You could do weights with it, squats. It's so heavy. And I have that in there. So I don't know why I bought out a little prop for today's podcast episode, because you can't see it. And it's not like I can do anything with it. But I love you more than the random and niche things that I have in my little Mary Poppins handbag. Hot stuff. I love this. I love you. Go forth, be hot, go do hot things, audit your brand, and tell me all the fuck about it. Love you.